Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters, today I'm playing with the 5x7 rectangle wiper card die set, and this is by Made to Surprise. These are the dies that come inside. You can see them here on the front of the package. This is how I like to store my dies. I have them on a magnetic sheet stored inside this folder, and the folder is open on two sides. I'm also going to be playing with this other die set. This is by Paper Discovery and it comes in this packaging, but again I cut down the packaging and I put all the dies onto the magnetic sheet. And I find this works for me. When I get a large set of dies like this, it's handier to have them this way. So I'm going to be playing with some of these dies, and I've cut out the Christmas tree as you can see here, and I have it all decorated and I have it already inked up using my distress inks. I've also used these little brushes. They're makeup brushes by Emax, and that's what I use when I'm using distress inks. I have the couch here and I have this one all nice and finished, and again I used some distress inks and I will have them linked down below. The green that I used is the pine needles, and some of the browns that I've used are vintage pistachio, tea dye, antique linen and brushed corduroy. And they're the inks that I have used throughout this project. So the Christmas tree I cut out on a green card and then used the distress ink on top, but the rest of them I cut out using a 300 GSM white card and then used these inks to colour them in with my brushes. So what I've done with the chair in particular, this chair die it's 3 dies and you cut it out and then you layer them, and I have used some little foam pads behind the different sections so it's raised up, and I went a little bit heavier with the ink around the little embellished parts of the couch. You can see here again that what I did with the Christmas tree, using the ink around the different cutout areas, and these sequins that I've used are from Love from Lizi, and I thought that the colours went well with the colours of the whole card. So I put my sequins down on my Christmas tree using some liquid glue, and I fill them then with Glossy Accents. When you look at your sequins that you get, there are the little cutouts. You see the little holes in the sequins? Those pieces are punched out and you generally get them in with your sequins mix. And so what I've done is I've taken these tiny little ones and used those on the trees. I didn't want to embellish the tree with things that were too big because I wanted it kind of relative in size. This is the picture frame that cuts out, and I have die cut it out in gold and white card. I die cut out the Merry Christmas and I stuck that on, and then I used my Glossy Accents over the whole of this white image with Merry Christmas, so it has a kind of a glass look about it. I've used some wire to simulate a hanging picture frame, and this is a jeweler's wire that I've used. You can see here, this is a 0.3 gauge jeweler's wire, and I just thought that this would make it look more authentic. I also have a little teeny mini brad, and I'm going to use that as like the little nail on the wall, and I will punch a hole through my card and put that through. Next I have die cut out the presents, and you can see here that these presents die cut out. Some of the polka dots we'll say are die cut out. The dies itself, there's 2 dies. One will cut out the image onto card, and if you use the second die it will die cut out the whole image. So I have coloured them in, used some of my Zig markers on them and some glitter glue. This is the little side table that comes in the die set, and I have coloured it using my brown inks, And I've also put some glossy accents on what appears to be the top of the table. And I think this gives a little bit of dimension to this little table. I've also die cut out the dog using a cream colored card. Again, I've used a mix of all my different inks, and I've also colored in his little nose black and put a little glossy accents on those. So you can see it gives some depth and dimension to our little dog. And we have a dog very similar in color to this. Okay, so this is the base. It measures 10 by 5 and it's scored at 1.5 and 3. You're going to need 2 of these. The second one I have cut down so it's 2 inches tall, and this is going to have our little images on that. So we'll have the tall base at the back, and then we'll have this smaller base at the front. Next we're going to see our mechanism, and this is die cut out using a die in the Made to Surprise wipercard die set. Now this measures 3 by 4.5, and you can see there's a little corner piece here where this is actually the mechanism that sticks to the card base and makes our wiper move up and down. So with this we're going to fold it across here like this, and we'll put some tape on that, and I'll show you how to use this later because we're going to need to cut this down in order to fit on the front part of our base. You can see here I have this piece cut down. We'll need this to be a little bit slimmer than our 2-inch front base. So I'm going to cut this down to 1 7/8 wide. And it doesn't matter how tall it is because we'll cut that down, and you can cut yours down depending on what your little pop-up or wiper image is going to be. So there's the basics for our card. There's our card bases and our card mechanism. Next we need to have a look at what our mats and layers are going to be. So the large patterned paper there measures 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, and we'll need 2 of those, one for the front and one for the back. Then that long piece of patterned paper that I have there, that measures 6 7/8 by 1 7/8, and the 2 pieces beside it measure 1 7/8 by 1 3/8. These 2 pieces that are going to go up here, they measure 2 7/8 by 1 3/8, and the reason I have left it uncovered at the bottom is because this panel here will go on top. These 2 pieces are also going to go on the back, and they measure 4 7/8 by 1 3/8. Okay, so let's speed everything up and assemble our card. And for this project, I'm going to be using some Collal glue to glue down our panels, as well as art glitter glue. I find the Collal glue dries nice and solid and gives a good hard finish, and the art glitter glue, that catches really quick. It leaves no residue behind and no tackiness. Okay, so I have the front papers on there, and they are going to be our wallpaper. And now I'm going to stick down the panels for the front smaller card base. And you can see here I flipped my pattern paper around, and that's just so that I suppose this is the carpet in my little room, and then the other pattern papers are like the wallpaper. Okay, so this is the mechanism. And I'm going to use some strong adhesive on the corner part of this, and that's why I'm using this red liner tape, but you can use whatever you have in your stash. You just need to make sure that if you do use liquid glue, it doesn't splodge out, otherwise your mechanism won't work properly. So you can see here that I want the mechanism to stand up straight like this when the card is open. So when we close the card, it will actually be in this position. I've slowed everything back down now to a regular speed so you can see what I'm going to do, and hopefully this will help you when you're adhering your mechanism down onto your card. So this is how the mechanism will sit inside when it's up, and this is how the mechanism sits inside when it's folded flat. So we need to make sure that our panel lies, our mechanism piece lies behind the front panel. So I'm bringing it up to the second score line. You can see there, the first one is a mountain fold, and then the second score line would be a valley fold. And I have folded back my double-sided tape. That little piece there at the corner, that would be taken off, and it would end up sitting in there like this. So I hope I'm making that clear for you. It's actually easier to see and understand once the front panel is stuck down and the card is in working position. But I think you can see there what I'm trying to achieve. I think the best thing to do now is to take the tape off and show you. So you can see there I have folded back the side with the sticky tape. That's where the sticky would be, and then that would adhere to that side panel. Just like that. So when the card is closed, it would be in this position, and then when it's opened, it would pop up. So I'm going to go ahead now and take the tape off, the release tape off our double-sided tape, and I'm going to stick everything down. So you can see there over my baby finger on the left, we have the first score line, and then next to that we have the second score line. You need the mechanism to be up against the second score line just there, and we want our sticky from our mechanism that's folded back so the sticky is up on top, and you again need to make sure it's positioned correctly so it's not peeping over the top or peeping down at the bottom. So I have my mechanism in place. The sticky part of the mechanism is facing up. That's going to adhere now onto our scored panel, and that way then you can see there it's lying flat, and when we open up the card it'll actually pop up. So it's flat behind, can't see it at the top or bottom, and then when we open it, it pops up. Now it doesn't matter how long it is because I will cut it down to fit my little gnome lady I'm going to stick on there. But I hope this has explained to you how the mechanism should sit behind your panel, whether it's a cut down panel like this or the full height panel. It still works under the same premise. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to speed everything back up now and start adhering everything down. So these little gnomes are the Paper Boutique gnomes, and they're from the winter, let me see, I have it down here, the Winter Gnomes paper kit, and I have the 36 decorative papers and the 32 die cut toppers, and I'm going to fussy cut this little lady gnome out, and I want her to sit on my mechanism to pop up from behind my sofa with her arms full of little Christmas presents. So I need to decide what I'm going to put in front of her where she pops up. Okay, so with our little gnome lady, we need to make sure that when she's on the pop-up, she's not too far up. Otherwise, her head is going to hit the side of the card. But I know I want her to sit in this position. Now I've paused my image here because I want to explain to you. Whatever little image you sit on the mechanism, if the left-hand side of the image goes past the left-hand side of the mechanism, that is going to be sticking up over the top. So if you don't want whatever is popping up to be above the front panel when the card is closed, then don't put anything over that side. I'm going to have my sofa sitting in front of her, so I don't mind that her ponytail there on the left hand side is going to be sitting above the front of our card base, because that front card of our card base is lower than the back. You'll be able to see it. Okay, so I have my little gnome lady where I want her to sit on the mechanism, and I have drawn out the shape of her right hand side. That way I can just trim away what I don't need, and I have the part that I will need for her to sit on. So I'm going to sit her onto the mechanism just like that. I'll put some liquid glue behind her, and that way then she will sit on there and pop up every time the card is opened and closed. Great. Now you could see there when the mechanism is in the down position, she's still poking up on her left hand side, but I've set the couch over it, so even though she will still be sticking out, you won't see it because of my couch. Okay, so now I'm going to add this front card base onto our back card base. And again, I'm going to use my strong red liner tape just so I can be sure, because this card has movement and people will be pulling it out and pushing it in. I don't want it to come apart, and I know that my red liner tape is going to hold this securely in place. And you get to see there where our little gnome lady is set when this is in its correct position. You can see there that the left side of her is sticking up well above, and that's what I was on about when you're using an image on the mechanism. But that's perfect for me. That's happy for what I want. Now I just need to decide where I'm going to put all my little pieces of furniture and my little puppy dog and my table, etc. So I know I need my couch to sit on the front here to cover up my little gnome lady, and I know I want my picture about this height on my card at the back. Now I'm poking the hole through for my brad, and I have some double-sided tape that this little image is going to be set on, and my little gnome lady's hat is going to slide over and back. The foam is lifting up the corner, the whole of the image there, so her little hat will slide over and back behind the picture frame. I've got my little side table. I'm going to stick that down, and I've die cut out 2 little gift boxes from my stash. I have some of the little gift box dies, and I've used those. They're going to sit on the table, and they're going to hide my little gnome, the pop-up section on that side. So I'm using my liquid glue on only the part of the couch that I want stuck down onto my card. I'm going to stick my little presents in here, and then I'm going to stick down my Christmas tree, and you'll only see like half of the Christmas tree. I'll cut the rest away so that it'll fit in the envelope. I want to prop up my Christmas tree to give a little bit of depth and dimension to the front of the card. So I'll use some foam tape on that. I'll stick it down, and then I'll cut the excess off. So I've positioned that where I want it. I'm happy with that. I'm just going to take my scissors then, and I'll cut off the excess. Next I'm going to stick down my little dog. And I don't know about you, but I have 2 dogs. And I know my dogs prefer to be up on the couches rather than down on the floor. So I debated putting him down here on the floor, but I think I prefer it up on the couch. I think most little dogs like to be set up on the couch. So that's where I'm putting him. He can keep an eye on everyone from up there. So I'm moving on to my back panels now. I have my patterned paper, which is 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, and I have this white piece of card which measures 4.5 by 6.5, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment on that before I attach it to the card base at the back. I have the 2 panels. I've given you the measurements for these already, and I'm going to put these on here. You don't have to put them on here on this back part, but I do think it finishes the look of the whole card. So I have my Misty here, and I'm going to use this to stamp down my sentiment. I don't want this to be the last thing I do and mess it up, and I don't have any more of that patterned paper either. So if you have a stamping platform, I would recommend you use it. If you don't, stamp your sentiment before you put it on your patterned paper or on your card. So I have used the sentiments from the, I think they're the Gemini. Let me have a look. Gemini by Crafter's Companion, and they're the Merry Christmas stamp set. And I'll leave links to everything below that I've used that I can find available on the old interweb. So check out the comment section or the description section down below for any of the products that I've used. So there we go. That is our card finished, and isn't it just so cute? And I have to say, if you don't like colouring in, I'm not very good at colouring in using the Copic markers or any of those type of things. I'm good enough, but it's not something I like to do. But I found these die cut pieces great because I could just use my distress inks and colour them in. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial of our lovely little 5x7 wiper card that we've cut down on the front. I'm leaving you now with images of the card we've made. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video, please click on the like button down below. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing. And if not, please click the subscribe button down below. There's also a little bell icon beside that. And if you click on that, YouTube will notify you every time I post a new video. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and bye for now.